Good evening, students, and I now welcome you once again to the class. So, today we will be doing the detailed discussion about some complicated stuff in the chapter, which is something related to the zero order reaction. But before I start with the integrated rate laws, like integrated rate law expressions, by the way, let me just take a stop here. So see, in the last class I had told you something related to what are the different types of reactions. We will be studying the details of a zero order, first order and second order reaction, right? And yes, the nth order reaction, so that you can tackle everything with respect to nth order reaction itself. Now we know two things about the rate law, right? That the rate law could be written experimentally as minus dA by dt or minus dr by dt. So this is the rate, and you know the rate law could also be written as rate is equal to K into some concentration of reactant raised to the power some number which you will be getting experimentally, right? Then the main discussion which is going to be there in today's class is how to interrelate both of them and how to solve both of them, so that we can simply come on to the discussion of another topic, which is integrated rate law expression. But I can't directly start with the integrated rate law expression, since we were to do something related to the factors which are going to affect the rate of reaction. And when we were discussing the factors affecting the rate of reaction, we had already discussed I think 6 of them, and now we are left with one another, which was the light. So please pardon me if you are getting irritated with the voice, because I am actually having a bad voice today. So let's just ignore the voice and let's just start studying. I will go slow, I will speak slowly, because if I will shout, I think you will switch off the laptop, which I really don't want you people to do. Okay, so I will be going slowly, I'll be taking deep breaths in between, so just ignore all of that because I'm not well. So let us just first of all start the discussion with the factors which are going to affect the rate of reaction, and then we'll move on to the next topic, which is integrating rate law. So moving on to the main topic that we had been doing in the last class but we couldn't complete in the last class was factors affecting the reaction rates. So when we were having a complete discussion about what are the different factors which are going to affect the rate of reaction, the first factor that we had taken into consideration was the concentration of reactants. And we had seen how for zero order reaction, for positive order reaction and for negative order reaction, the concentration of reactants, on changing the concentration of reactants, the rate of the reaction will either increase, decrease or will remain constant. So we had this huge discussion about the concentration of reactant, right? Then we moved on to the pressure. So again, this was the pressure of reactants, but I told you this is basically useful only for the reactions which involve gaseous species. Because solids and liquids were incompressible, they cannot be compressed, so pressure as such is not going to have a very important role when we are talking about the rates of reactions having solids or liquid phases only, right? So we had done the detailed discussion in our last class. After that, we moved on to now volume of the system. So I once again considered the gaseous reactants and the gaseous products, and since I said that a gas will occupy the volume of the container in which it will be kept, so I'm just taking, instead of writing volume of reactants or volume of products, I'm just writing the volume of the system. You remember, right, we had done one question also where we figured out an important fact, that on changing the order of reaction, the change in volume will lead to different types of changes in the rate of reaction. If I'm not wrong, the answer in the last class was 8 root 8. But however, if the order of reaction would have been a different thing, then the volume change would have, like, on doing the same volume change, the rate of reaction would have changed differently. So this all we discussed in the last class. Having done with these three factors, we then moved on to the fourth factor, which was temperature, and we had learned that on changing the temperature, the rate of reaction will generally increase. So we had done one another fact that with 10-degree rise in temperature, the rate of the reaction generally gets doubled or tripled, right? So this also we had seen in the last class. After this, we moved on to the next thing, which was surface area of reactants. And I had told you that if the reactants will be of more surface area, then more nicely the two reactants can come close to each other. If more nicely they'll come close to each other, more nicely they'll start forming bonds with each other, and hence the rate of reaction will also be more. That means on increasing the surface area of reactants, which you generally do by powdering, like by making a powder form. So if the reactants could be taken in the powder form, you can say the surface area of reactants will increase, and if the surface area of reactants will increase, you can simply say that the rate of reaction will also increase. Okay. And then I remember discussing one another topic, which was catalyst, and I said that these two things, 5th and 6th, I will not be explaining you in details, because this we will be doing in the next chapter, which is surface chemistry. Having done all these 6 factors, now we are going to come on to the 7th factor, the 7th and another important factor, which is light. Now see, generally we do consider light as one of the reactant only. So there may be so many reactions which do not take place without light, right? So light has to be used as the main reactant, then only the reaction could take place. So this is what I said, whenever light will be used, so like in 98% of the cases, light will be used as one of the reactant only. Not only this, the presence of light is important only and only for photochemical reactions. Like for example, you say that you just have to do the titration of HCl with NaOH. So you have taken HCl, you have taken NaOH, you are going to mix the two, and it will lead to the formation of NaCl and water. So this kind of thing is okay. I mean, this kind of reaction will take place the same way whether you are carrying it out in the presence of light or in the absence of light. But the reactions which are actually falling under the category of photochemical reactions, without the presence of light, these reactions cannot take place. Okay? So light is an important part of the reactants in case of photochemical reactions. Okay? And this is only and only in the case of photochemical reactions that the rate of chemical reaction will be decided by the presence or the absence of light. Okay. Now you know the light spectrum, right? You can divide the light into 7 colors and then you can state it as. So this we have violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange, red, right? And if you write it like this, then you know this is the increasing order of wavelength, and the vice versa will be increasing order of intensity. Frequency. Okay. So see, if there is any particular reaction which can be initiated by the red light, right, that particular reaction can be initiated with any of the light, because red light is the largest wavelength, or it is the light with the least frequency in the colored region, right? So if a reaction can be initiated by red light, it can, okay, I am not speaking, I am trying to take rest in between, so you can just note it down. So this is what I have explained. If there is any particular reaction that can be initiated by red light, then that particular reaction could be initiated by any of the colors of light. Okay. One more thing that I am going to tell you, it's that not only the rate of any photochemical reaction, like how light and rate of photochemical reaction are correlated. So I will say the rate of any photochemical reaction can be influenced by light, right? And light has got two characteristics. So I can simply say that so see, what do we understand by this particular statement? I have written here that the rate of photochemical reaction is not only affected by the frequency of light. Like for example, there is a particular, so come here once again to this section of the board. So let's say there is a particular chemical reaction which can be carried out by a green light. So green light is mandatory to be present so that the chemical reaction could be carried out. Now suppose instead of green light you are taking red light. My question is, can the reaction be carried out or not? So this is gonna be a dicey situation. Suppose, so you remember in the chapter structure of atom in class 11th we had studied that there is some threshold frequency which is required for the ejection of electron for photochemical, for photoelectric effect, right? So the same way I am saying, if green is the minimum frequency which is required for the photochemical reaction, now the photochemical reaction could be carried out by any of the light which are having greater frequency, but may not be by the lights which are having, or not by the lines which are having a lower frequency. So first thing is that the frequency of the light that you are using is really important in deciding the rate of a photochemical reaction. And the second most important thing is the intensity of light. Like, are you taking the light bulb of a smaller intensity, this much bulb, or are you taking a huge bulb like of a higher intensity? So it's both the frequency and the intensity of the light which is going to decide the rate of a photochemical reaction. Okay. So if it's not a photochemical reaction, if light is of no use to us, then you are carrying the reaction in the presence of red light or green light or blue light is just okay. We are not concerned about the light effect when it's when it's not a photochemical reaction. So only and only when it's a photochemical reaction, then only the rate of photochemical reaction will be decided by the presence of light and also by the frequency and intensity of light. Clear? So this intensity, so generally I'll tell you, most of the photochemical reactions that you will be studying will be zero order reactions. So again, this is a general statement I am telling you, and this is, so I'll write it there on the board. So we will write So see, I have written here most of the photochemical reactions that you will be studying, like many of them will be showing a zero order kinetics. So many of them will be following the kinetics which should be of zero order. I have not written all of them, but yes, maximum 98% of them will follow a zero order kinetics. Okay, so now what is zero order kinetics? I'll tell you after this particular topic. So I will be defining a new term which is known as quantum yield or quantum efficiency. So we will be defining so this photochemical reactions, for photochemical reactions only we will be defining a new topic which is so quantum yield or quantum efficiency is basically written with the symbol phi, and this is defined as the number of the reactants that are gonna, so this is defined as the number of reactants that are gonna react, number of reactants that react in a given volume in a given time. So see, you are now fixing the volume of vessel and you are fixing the time. Let us say a particular photochemical reaction is carried out for 5 minutes. Now in those 5 minutes you have fixed the time has to be 5 minutes only, you have fixed the container. So if a container is fixed, so you need to look into this much volume only. So the number of reactants that are going to react in a given volume in a given time to be divided by the number of photons that will be absorbed in the same volume in the same time. So see, if you try to understand, like we simply say no, how much reactant you are providing, like how much energy you are providing and how much work is being done. So that is what is the yield, right? So see, so you have done, right, efficiency, we have done Carnot engine, you have done all these in grade 11th, both in physics and chemistry. So how much work is being produced divided by how much energy you are supplying is what is efficiency. So similarly, how many numbers of photons you are providing. So it's once again, the important thing is not how many photons you are providing, the important thing is how many photons are actually getting absorbed into the system. So maybe you are putting 200 photons, but out of which only 100 of them are getting absorbed. So here we will say the number of photons that will be absorbed in the particular volume in a particular time, okay, and in the numerator we will have the number of reactants that are going to react in a given volume in a given time. So that is what is quantum yield or quantum efficiency, okay. Now listen to me very carefully guys, these photochemical reactions are really not very important for JEE syllabus. It's just that if a question will be asked in exam related to photochemical reaction, the question can be either related to quantum yield, it can be related to quantum efficiency, it can be related to the frequency, or it can simply be related to like the general things about the photochemical reactions, and you just need to remember that many of the photochemical reactions will follow a zero order kinetics. So that's it. This was all about what are the different factors which are going to affect the rate of any particular chemical reaction. So now once again let me just make you people revise all the 7 important points. So the first one was the concentration of reactants, not of the product. Second one was the pressure in the entire system. Third one was the volume in the entire system. Pressure was concerned only for gaseous species reactions, not for solids and liquids. Then the volume was again for gaseous species reactants and products. The fourth one was the temperature. The fifth one was the catalyst. The sixth one was the surface area of the reactants, and the seventh one that we had done is the presence of light or the type of light, nature of light that you are providing for photochemical reactions. Okay. Now since I can't speak more, so I am taking a break here. I want you people to note down everything very nicely which is there on board, and then we will be starting with the integrated rate law expressions. So first note it down guys, then we'll move on further. Okay, so I think now everyone would have at least completed the writing part, and now let me move on to the next important topic that we have to discuss today, and this topic that we will be doing now will be integrated rate law expressions. So I'll just tell you what are integrated rate law expressions, and like for today I think we'll be able to wind up with the zero order reaction, and maybe in the upcoming classes we'll do the details of first order and second order, and yeah, the nth order reactions as well. Give me a second, let me prepare the board. And then I'll start. So now we will be doing the integrated rate law expressions or integrated rate laws for Okay, so see here very carefully. As of now, you know how to express the rate of a chemical reaction in two different ways. The first is by writing down the rate law expression. So rate, let's say if there is a reaction AA plus BB to form CC plus DT. So that is our major reaction of concern, and we are writing the rate of this reaction is equal to K times the concentration of A raised to the power some M, the concentration of B raised to the power some N, right? So this is how we will be writing the rate law expression. So this is the first kind of rate that I can write. The second kind of rate that you can easily write by looking at the reaction, you can say minus 1 by A dA by dt is minus 1 by B dB by dt, which is equal to 1 by C dC by dt, which is equal to 1 by D dt by dt. So these are the two different ways in which you can represent the rate of reaction, right? But the problem here is this is totally experimental. Putting up the values is not easy. I mean, maybe the power is 1 by 3, the power is 2 by 3. Calculating through those powers is not easy. And the second problem, doing this differential part, what is dB by dt? I can't be always working practically with so small concentrations. Like, I can easily measure what will be the change in concentration when I am taking a time gap of, let's say, 60 seconds, 1 minute, let's say 2 minutes. This is easy. But if I'm asking you to perform an experiment and take the readings in just time gap of 30 seconds, it's really difficult. I mean, you note down the reading, you look at the reading, note it down, it will take 30 seconds, and how can again you quickly look at the reading and note it down? So working with small time gaps is not at all an easy option, and since working with small time gaps is not easy option, so working with this DT term is really not easy. Fine. Now after this, my main step will be to take a correlation between this particular rate law expression and between this particular rate law expression, so that now I can do the integration maybe at last, and finally I can get the integrated rate laws for different order reactions. Okay, like what actually I wanted to tell you people, I will be able to explain that more properly when I am taking a particular case. Let me now start with the very first case for zero order kinetics. So this is the first case that I am gonna take today, right? Now see, consider a reaction. So I will go really slow by now, because whatever I will be teaching you for the zero order reaction, you have to understand it, you have to learn it, you have to not by hearting and learning, but you have to understand it so nicely, because the same thing will be utilized in first order, second order, nth order reactions. So the upcoming 2-3 classes will be easy enough if this particular portion is clear to you. Fine. So how I have to do? First you need to write the reaction A is gonna form B. The second step is to say, when time t is equal to 0, let us say the concentration of A is A naught and B is nothing. Okay, you can also call, so when A is gonna form B, at time t is equal to 0, the concentration of A is A naught, B is nothing, right? At time t is equal to T, let us say X moles of A have been reacted. So the A will be left out as A naught minus X, and how much B will be formed? X, okay? So at t is equal to 0, this is A naught, this is nothing. At t is equal to T, this is A naught minus X, and this is X. In other words, you can say at t is equal to 0, this is A naught, this is nothing. At time t is equal to T, let us say this is A, and this is something which I am not writing. Okay, so A is what? A is the amount of A that is left out. So this A naught is the initial amount of A, or initial amount of reactant, initial concentration of reactant, and A is the concentration of A at time t. At any particular time t, what will be the concentration of A? Will be A only. Clear? Now if I move on further, so see, I can do the integration and I can find out the rate law expressions by either solving this thing or solving that thing. So I'll do both of them, because in certain books this particular thing is given, in certain other books this thing is given. So I'll go by both, but let me first start with this because I like this particular pattern more nicely. So let's see. So when we were going to study the details of zero order kinetics, so let us say this is A, it's going to give us B. At time t is equal to 0, this is A naught, this is nothing. At time t is equal to T, this is A, this is something, right? Now I'll say, we can simply write that since it's a zero order reaction, So I can say rate is equal to K into concentration of A raised to the power 0, because it's a zero order reaction. So we can simply say rate is equal to K, because A raised to the power 0 is 1. So this is the first line that we have got, that rate is equal to K. Also, since it's a zero order reaction and since A is gonna form B, so I can simply say minus dA by dt is equal to rate, or the rate can be written as minus of dA by dt, which also could be written as d concentration of B by dt. I am not concerned about the products right now, I am just concerned about the reactants. So I can say rate is equal to minus dA by dt, right? And this is equation number 2. So see, equation number 1 is also telling us about the rate, equation number 2 is also telling us about the rate. So when both the two equations are telling us about the rate, and that too of the same reaction, so I can easily equate both of them. So from the rate law expression, I got rate is equal to K. So this is the term that I have got from the rate law expression, and this is the term that I have got from the experimental data, right? So now I can say minus dA by dt is equal to K, right? Take this dt which is there in the denominator to right hand side. Now see, I totally agree that cross multiplication is not a good option. So what I am asking you to do, I am just asking you to integrate everything with respect to t. So that you can do just by taking it to the right hand side. So dA is equal to K times dt. Take the negative also to the right hand side. dA is equal to negative K dt. Now I'll ask you to do the integration with respect to t. So see, put the limits. When you will be putting t equal to 0, what will be the value of A? Come here to this side of the board. When t is equal to 0, the concentration of A is A naught, and when t is equal to t, the concentration of A is A. Now just put the limits. When t is equal to 0, the concentration is A naught, and when t is equal to t, the concentration is A. So this is how you have to do the integration. Now see, what will be the integral of dA? So dA integral will be A only, and put the values. So the values that you will be getting will be from A naught to A, and this will be minus K. What will be the integral of dt? It will be t only, so it will be 0 to t. Try to solve it out. So you will get A minus A naught is equal to minus K t minus 0. So you will get, now if I do not want to write it in brackets, you can simply say A minus A naught is equal to minus Kt, or you can also say A naught minus A is equal to Kt. So finally, so we will say that if you write it here, you can also say A is equal to A naught minus Kt. So if this is not good, so you can just take A to the right hand side. A is equal to A naught minus Kt. So this is even a better equation which I can ask you people to remember. So see, so this is much better a thing that you can remember. Let me just write it somewhere else also. So let's try to first understand this particular derivation. Let me just start again. What I did, I just started with a zero order reaction. So when I started with a zero order kinetics, I had first written down the reaction, which was A is gonna get converted to B. then I had written what were the concentrations at the times which I am concerned about. So at the beginning of the reaction, or in the beginning of reaction, when T is equal to 0, the concentration was A naught and B was nothing. So at time T, let us say the concentration is A and B is something which I am not concerned about right now. So now I know how we can represent the rate of reaction. The rate of chemical reaction could be written with the rate law expression. So rate is equal to K into concentration of A raised to the power some n. But since it's a zero order reaction, the value of n will be 0. So we'll get rate is equal to K into A raised to the power 0, and thus rate is equal to K. Point number 1, right? Then I said that for the same reaction you can also write the rate as minus dA by dt, also you can write it as dB by dt. Again, for writing down the integrated rate law expression, you are not to be concerned about the products, ignore them, just start writing rate is equal to minus dA by dt, right? So when you have to write rate as minus dA by dt, then you can simply understand the fact, since the two expressions are of rates only, so we can say minus dA by dt is equal to K dt. So now better thing to write here is integrate both the sides with respect to T. So how can you integrate with respect to T? Just take dt to the right hand side, or I'll say divide and multiplied by dt. So these are the different ways to say. So you'll say minus dA is equal to K times dt. Now do the integral and put the limits. So take negative to the right hand side, dA is equal to minus K dt. And you can see when time T is equal to 0, concentration is A naught. When time T is equal to T, concentration will be capital A only, right? So dA integral will be A only, put the limits which will be A naught to A, and the minus will remain as such, K will come out because it's a constant. Integral of dt will be T, put the limits 0 to T. Try to substitute everything, you will get A minus A naught is equal to minus K, T minus 0. So A minus A naught is equal to minus KT. I just asked you to take A naught to the right hand side, so you will get A is equal to A naught minus KT, right? And the final expression that we had derived, I am writing it, so I had written it once again on the board. This is A is equal to A naught minus KT. Let me just explain you what is the meaning of this word A is equal to, of this term A is equal to A naught minus KT. So see, what was A naught? A naught was the concentration of reactant that you had taken in the beginning, right? And when time T is equal to 0, the concentration at any time. So see, I can better write it as AT is equal to A naught minus KT. So concentration of A at any time T is equal to concentration of A at time 0 minus KT. So when time was 0, I mean in the beginning of reaction, T was 0, this will go out. So the concentration of A will be A naught. What you will see, with the increase in time, as soon as the time increases, so T will become positive, I mean it will become a higher value. KT will keep on increasing, so negative term keeps on increasing. That means the final concentration of the reactant at any time T will be lower, will be lesser compared to the initial concentration of the reactant, which is A naught. Okay. So the final expression that you people need to remember for the zero order reaction is A is equal to A naught minus KT. Clear? So this was all about how we will be dealing with the integrated rate law expression. So see, this particular expression that I had written on the board, so this complete expression is actually formed out of integral. So you have done this integral here, right? This integration part has been done here. And now see, so why this is known as a rate law expression? Because if you know the initial concentration, which you will know, if you know the rate constant, which is also easy to find out experimentally, and you can just put on the different values of time to get the different values of A. So once you will be able to predict what will be the final concentrations of the reactant at different times, you can easily predict what is the rate of reaction, right? So once you get some idea about the rate constant, you can easily get idea about the rate of reaction. Or vice versa, time after, for different time slots, you know the initial concentration, you can just put up the values for the final concentration at time T, you will get a graph, and from the graph you can get the value of this K. Now the question is, ma'am, how to get the graph, how the graph will look like, between which and which variables graph is to be plotted. What about the another integral that you were to show, which was small a naught, and this was nothing. This was small a naught minus x, and this was x. So all that we won't be doing today, because you can see once again I'm in a dead position. So that's it for today. We will be continuing with the further details in the next class itself. Till that time.